The storm came out of nowhere. What had started as a quiet evening, in the office quickly, turned into a furious downpour, with rain hammering against the glass windows and wind rattling the doors. I, the building's lone janitor, had been finishing my rounds, mopping the floors and locking up rooms when I heard her voice behind me. "Wait, I think we're stuck here," she said, her usually calm tone tinged with surprise. I turned to see my boss, the woman I had admired from a distance for months, standing by the stairwell, her hair slightly damp from the rain that had found its way inside. Her heels clicked nervously against the polished floor, and I realized we were the only two people left in the building. The lights flickered. I grabbed a flashlight and shone it toward her, trying to mask the rapid beating of my heart. She gave me a small, almost mischievous smile. "Concierge, what do we do now?" she asked, her voice dropping just enough to make my pulse spike. I swallowed hard. "We wait it out?" I offered weakly, though my mind raced in 1,000 different directions. She stepped closer, so close that I could feel the warmth radiating from her. The smell of her perfume hit me, and for a moment I forgot about the storm, the office, everything. Her eyes held mine, a spark of something I couldn't name. Then she said, almost teasingly, "Do we do that thing?" I blinked, my brain scrambling. "Now?" I stammered, my voice barely audible. The thunder outside roared, but inside, there was a different kind of electricity, one that crackled between us. Undeniable and raw. We were trapped by the storm, yes, but more than that. We were trapped in a moment neither of us could ignore. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the same hesitation, the same longing I felt. There was no shame, no awkwardness, just the sudden, undeniable pull of two people who had been dancing around each other for far too long. I swallowed again, aware of the closeness, the tension, the storm outside. Time slowed, and I realized that what she meant by that thing was something far more dangerous than the weather. Moment that could change everything. And just like that, the storm outside became almost irrelevant, drowned out by the storm between us. The rain continued to pound against the windows, creating a rhythmic backdrop to the silence that had settled between us. Neither of us moved, yet the tension in the room was suffocating. I could feel her gaze on me, soft but intense, and I knew that she wasn't just asking a question, she was daring me. I took a cautious step closer. My hands itched to reach for hers, to bridge the invisible space that had existed between us for months. She didn't pull away. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, testing me, silently saying, "Go ahead." The storm outside seemed to mirror what was happening inside. Lightning illuminated the office in harsh, bright flashes, and each rumble of thunder seemed to echo the pounding of my heart. I swallowed, trying to steady my voice. "Are you sure?" I asked, though the answer was obvious in her eyes. She smiled a little nervously and nodded. "I've never been more sure." For a moment, the world outside didn't exist. The office, the storm, even time itself seemed suspended. All that mattered was this: the proximity, the electricity, the unspoken feelings finally coming to the surface. I reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. Her skin was warm, and the softness of her gaze made my chest tighten. She let out a small laugh, a sound that was part nervousness, part relief, and it melted something inside me I hadn't realized was frozen. We moved closer, the space between us disappearing with every heartbeat. My hand hovered near hers, not wanting to rush but unable to stop. The storm outside roared louder, but it was nothing compared to the storm in my chest. Then finally our hands met. Fingers intertwined naturally, as if they had always belonged together. She leaned closer, just enough for me to feel the brush of her lips against my cheek. Teasing, daring, inviting. The electricity between us ignited, a spark neither of us could deny. And in that charged moment, I understood that nothing would ever be the same again. Nothing outside. Nothing inside. Not after this night, this storm, this closeness that had finally been confessed without words. Time passed without our noticing. We were caught in the current of something far stronger than the rain. A connection that had been building silently for months, and now it could no longer be ignored. The storm outside finally began to wane, but the tension in the room hadn't diminished. We stayed close, hands still intertwined, our breaths slowly synchronizing. The world beyond the office didn't exist anymore. It was just the two of us, and the quiet aftermath of a night that had changed everything. She looked up at me, her eyes soft but serious. "I didn't just ask to stay in your bed. I wanted to feel safe, to finally let go of all the walls I've built." Her words hit me harder than the storm ever could. I realized then that it wasn't just about proximity. It was about trust, about vulnerability, about finally allowing ourselves to be seen without fear. I brushed my thumb across her knuckles, smiling softly. "You're safe," I said, "and I'm glad you stayed." We lingered in that moment, letting the quiet speak for us. The closeness was no longer awkward. It was comforting, familiar, and electric all at once. Every heartbeat, every brush of skin, was a reminder that what we had been avoiding for months, the feelings, the connection, was finally acknowledged. Eventually, sleep began to creep in, though I knew it wouldn't come easy. Not after everything that had happened. Yet the anticipation of tomorrow felt lighter, less frightening, because we had crossed a threshold together. Morning would come with its decisions, its responsibilities, its return to the outside world. But for now, we allowed ourselves to simply be two people who had silently been drawn to each other, finally discovering what had always been there. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the blinds, she nestled closer, resting her head lightly on my shoulder. I held her gently, feeling the warmth and the promise of what could be. And in that small, quiet space, I realized something profound. Sometimes, one night, one storm, one simple question can change everything. One night can awaken feelings, trust, and a closeness you didn't know was possible, and it can be the beginning of a story neither of us will ever forget. The storm had passed outside, but inside something new had begun. Something neither of us could ignore, something we would carry forward together.